we're here at the 2021 King of the Hammers race. We're already dirty, we're all settled in.
So when we get here, the first thing we do is we set up this garage. We've got to get the tarps down, get the lights up, get everything set so we can work on the cars all week. And we're not rebuilding the transmission, we're doing little things. We're tuning the brakes, we're tuning the shocks, we're changing tires. We've got lots of things that need to get done on the cars. This is the main area that the whole team works out of. And then we also have our own cook to feed the 40 people that are here. So it's a big undertaking.
We took the car out this morning, ran a little bit. We were working with some plumbing issues that we got handled, and they're all good now. So now we're just dialing in our brakes, and then we'll be ready for qualifying the big car in the morning.
So this is really, really cool. Tommy Dykstra is a customer who saw what I did last year by finishing the 4400 class in a Genright Jeep. He bought all the parts and built it himself in his garage and already qualified to race in the 4400 class. So his Jeep's ready, and I think it's awesome, and I wish him the best for sure. Once this stuff is done, we get in the cars and we take off, and we get 3 days to pre-run the race course. They change the course every year. It's one of the things that I love about King of the Hammers, is you never know what the course is going to be.
So this course is honestly the worst course I've seen King of the Hammers race on. You know, I've raced for the last 7 or 8 years now, and this is by far the worst one, especially for the 4400s. You know, we're racing UTV, they have a shorter course. The Rock Loop is, you know, it's similar, but not as many of the add-on trails that they throw in for the 4400s on lap 3. You know, so Tommy is going to have to work for it. You know, I think this was a rough year for him to jump in and try this, but you know, I think if he can keep his head on straight and just stay moving and protect the vehicle, you know, I think he'll do good. And that's the same boat we're in. You know, just keep the vehicle safe and keep moving.
Not too bad for a Jeep.
Okay, my name is Jeremy Jones. I drive a Trent Fab top shelf race car, I guess. 4800 class, my number's 4837. Picked the class just because it's not quite as high dollar as the unlimited class, but you still get a lot of the same speed and the same performance out of the car.
My name's Dan Young. I co-drive for Jeremy Jones out of Laramie, Wyoming for car 4837.
We have pre-run every inch of every single trail, picked our lines very, very diligently.
We've got over 300 different points that we've marked throughout everywhere, just warning us of something coming up. So for the most part, my head's kind of just buried down into the GPS, watching and being able to call out what's coming up ahead so that he's forewarned so we don't catch a G out wrong.
Trying to figure out what the fastest line, less rutted and rough line. After the trophy trucks, they absolutely murdered the desert. So we have had to kind of pick our way through just because we don't have the suspension and we don't have the tire that they have going through. So rock-wise, we have gone over every inch of every trail, and so we feel very prepared. We've been through everything at least 2 or 3 times.
It gets pretty long in the tooth. You're getting tossed around and slammed around. The rocks, I think, are one of the worst parts. You're motoring through them so fast that everything is just jostling back and forth, and you're taking hits. Your neck gets a little bit tired and sore by the end of the day, but I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't trade it. It's still as much fun as you can have, getting your ass handed to you. So
Mickey came into the program last year through Tony Pellegrino. They'd been kind of watching, and we had a 3rd place finish the year before nationally and a top 15 at Hammers, and then last year we ended up on the Baja Boss. We had a top 5 finish and 2nd nationally. It's a super tough tire. Last year was a bit of a learning curve on them. I just kind of had to figure out my cornering a little bit. They're just a little bit different than the Maxxis I ran before, but they're definitely more controllable, and they handle great through the desert.
Once we got into the rock lap last year, man, they were smooth. They grab, they bite. We raced them the entire season last year, and I'm flat floored at how tough they are. We took some hits, specifically in Tennessee, that I honestly can't believe that they didn't explode the wheel, much less tear a hole in the tire. So they're huge. They're awesome.
We had a smoke and run up until the point where we center punched the rock going up the rock face. That slowed us down just a skosh. And then coming down the hill, I think that I reached up and tried to shut the front locker off, and I might have hit the fuel pump, and it killed the car. And so it took us about 15, 20 seconds to get the car running again, which killed our time a bit. So we're hoping we start probably top 25, and we'll just pick them off through the desert as we go.
Jeremy Jones in 4837, that's the Legends class. He was doing really well, but in Spooner's Canyon, the car got damaged really bad and he was unable to finish as well.
Hi, this is Tad DOWKER here. Driving the North Shore Raceworks 906 car, 4400 class. Mickey Thompson came on board right off the get. Started running this car last year. Been working with them on the Baja Boss since the get-go. The tire handles really well for us. Excellent traction in the rocks. Good stability at speed. It's just been a really good fit. We're definitely a competitive tire out here. Last year we didn't get as much pre-running as we wanted, so this year our goal coming in was to pre-run everything. So we ran the desert section. We're gonna run that again tomorrow, so we'll have 2 laps in the desert. And we've ran all the rock trails, and then the new trail, King's Graveyard. We went and walked that yesterday. That's gonna be a pretty gnarly one, so we put some eyes on that and try not to slide down it. Yeah, that one's gonna take out a lot of cars, so gonna be prepared. We finished 20th last year. We had a pretty good day. Had a couple small issues, but I think we got everything. I mean, car's looking good. I think we're ready to put in a good finish this year. This race is really about endurance. You know, I feel like this race, after running a couple years now, is mostly won in the garage, right? If you don't come here prepared, you might as well just pack it up and go home. You know, there's a lot of luck involved. There's a lot of car prep involved, and then just being patient and getting through your day carefully, but also, you know, maintaining that race pace. So it's a real big balance compared to just a lap race. It's not quite a sprint the whole time. You're just trying to keep pace and keep the car together.
We're just working through getting this car dialed in so Jordan can get the finish that he's been looking for the last few years with this new car. It's been a process, a lot of new things that we've worked through over the last couple years. We've got a lot of the bugs worked out. We've been just fine-tuning little details like brakes and cooling on the front diff. With the help of Sam and Kyle and Cole and the rest of the team, these guys have been knocking stuff out, and I really got to give a lot of credit to them as well.
Tomorrow morning, both Tommy and Jordan will go out and qualify on a short course that's combined of jumps, berms, and then they go through the rocks, and that qualifies them for their start position. That's where you figure out how many guys' dust do I have to eat, or can I be up at the front with clean air and running away from the rest of them that are fighting the dust.
Smooth run. I think we're sitting in 10th right now. Lots of cars to go, but we'll be sitting in a pretty good spot come race day. Yeah, the first part, it's got a couple really good jumps, so you just got to kind of lean the car in there and hope that she flies all right. The corners were a little chewed up, but powered through, and then we got to the rock section, which is more my background. We're pretty smooth through the rocks. That rock slab's actually pretty slippery, and we didn't have to work nearly as hard as a lot of those guys, so I think that's a big advantage there. We scooted up that pretty quick and get back in the dirt and come around the last section. Car is pretty much ready to go. We're gonna go out this afternoon and run the first 15-20 miles of race course just to make sure it feels good and see how those whoops are looking. And then we'll just do a nut and bolt check all the fluids, and let it sit till race day.
So the course is super gnarly this year. It shares the same part of the same course that the trophy trucks are running, so it is beat. All the desert portions are super blown out. The rocks are, just as aggressive as always. We're going up one of the super steep rock faces that we usually go down. It's a lot shorter course this year, so it's going to be important to make sure we nail every point on the course, because if there's a point where we lose time, there's really no opportunity to gain that time back during our run. So a smooth, clean run is going to be super important.
Right now we're looking really good. Jordan got a really solid qualifying run today. It was clean. It was right where he wanted to be, top 20. You didn't want to be too far in the front with everybody raging behind him. So I think we're set up and lined up for a good day on Saturday, right where we planned on being. So I'm looking forward to it.
Now they're going to do what's called a race prep, so they're going through everything in great detail. He did damage a couple parts on that big jump landing, so we've got to get some new ones to put on there, but not a big deal. And yeah, the guys will have it buttoned up and ready to go.
Had quite the exciting race day. Right off the start, we were having mechanical problems with our front diff pump, which causes the front diff to overheat rather quickly without that pump and without the cooler in the system. So that definitely changed my mindset right off the start almost. It was a lot earlier in the race than I was ready for something like that, but I just knew we had to kind of go into survival mode and just keep the car moving, keep it alive, and not damage it along the way or compromise it for the rest of the race.
right, on race day, what I do is I chase the race car in our Genright Terremoto. It's a lot of fun taking shortcuts and everything without getting on the race course, because you could get DNF for that. It's a huge penalty, and still get eyes on the car. That's my main thing, is I want eyes on the car. All right, we made it. And we are all the way out at Pit 1, which is just off Soggy Dry Lake. And further from here is Cougar Buttes. So the cars will come through here, continue Cougar Buttes, then they're gonna head way out toward that far mountain, and then they'll loop back in here one more time for fuel, parts, work on the car, whatever we need. And then they head back out to Maine, where they'll get more fuel and then on to lap 2. Behind any good team is a headquarters or a base, right? So this is what we call our base radio, and these run on 60-foot antennas that are anchored to the trailer. The team talks on one radio channel and the car talks on another radio channel, so that there's no interruption. And this gentleman inside here actually monitors both and relays some information from the car to the team as he comes into the pits. So this is a very important aspect, because this race is over such a vast area that we have to have a really good base radio to communicate with all the different areas. It's so many miles apart. Eventually at about mile 100, ended up having to call it a day because his throttle pedal wasn't working anymore. He's got what they call a fly-by-wire throttle pedal that is run by the computer, and it just stopped working, and he was getting to the very technical section of the race course through the rocks, and it was just not going to go well, so he pulled the plug, and that was the end of his day. We knew already, based on the amount of oil that had pushed out of the front differential, that the pump was not working. So now it was up to Jordan to manage the temperature of that front differential by slowing down, and then send them on to main pit, where they had the extra parts and everything they could to work on it and get it fixed.
You know, we got that diff pump fixed. It was about a 45-minute pit stop back at Maine, so we really struggled to be moving at the pace I wanted to be moving at on lap 1. I really had to dial it back a bit. we got moving again, but then we were behind a lot of people, you know, going into those first rock trails, Spooners, Outer Limits. So we get to idle issues on lap 2 after Chocolate Thunder, and there's a car rolled over right in the middle of our line.
Because once they had that front differential problem, they had to make up time, and that really put them in a different spot in the race where they were caught in other traffic.
It's really easy to run the trails, but on race day, it's twice as hard to run any single one of these trails when you have cars broken, you know, cars upside down, people scattered all over the trail. Everything's just constantly changing.
So my name is Gunnar VELASQUEZ. I'm Jordan's co-driver. I've been his co-driver for about 8 years now. Basically just met him online. He had an ad on Pirate 4x4 for a co-driver needed. I responded to it and got the gig, and been history ever since. Yeah, when I met Jordan, he was about 14 years old, and he didn't even have a learner's permit, he didn't have a driver's license, anything. So that was pretty funny. That was always the joke, that if we got pulled over, he wasn't even legally allowed to drive at the time. You know, when we first started driving together, I mean, it was kind of a learning process for everything. I hadn't been in the rocks. This was about 8 years ago. King of Hammers was still relatively new. I was more of a desert guy. Jordan, he had trophy karts that he did in Lucas Oil Series, and we were both kind of learning together, and Tony helped us along the way. Just, you know, we've just put a lot of hours, a lot of seat time, and it's been a good ride. We definitely have grown up together, almost like brothers, and just yelling at each other, and it's a lot of energy in the car, to be said. So that's a good time, though. We definitely get it. Yeah, I just try to remind him to have a good time when we're out doing this, and you know, just keep the little triangle on the line. That's my big goal. So, you know, we'll try and get this car to the finish, and just you know, do our thing.
So like I said before, the race course is different every single year. This year, it's the hardest it's ever been. It's 219 miles, and they added a trail called King's Graveyard. It's brand new. They just cut it through this canyon, and the rocks are bigger than the vehicle. It's got a really steep grade to it. The cars are literally like falling down this and getting wedged in the rocks. And it's so bad that we weren't willing to run either of these vehicles through it. We walked the whole thing, watched another vehicle go through, and really kind of came up with a strategy. This trail is worse than all the other trails combined. Okay, it's bad. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. Now, all that said, that trail is the last trail of the race. So you've driven 180 miles. Your car is beat down, you're beat down, you're tired, you're exhausted. You've lived on the edge of death for 7 hours already. So you've got to really check it up and take a deep breath. This is like running a marathon. You got to pace yourself. And then when you get to that trail, you got to like dig deep to get through that thing. It's going to be a super tough year.
Running.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And you got any road sodas?
I don't have anything.
Completely ill-prepared.
Dude, I've been everywhere today.
It's fun, huh?
I've been everywhere today.
And then of course, toward the end of the day, you know, we were pretty beat. We had King's Graveyard after Sledgehammer, and that was quite the trail. I told myself when we got there that week that I was running it once, and it was during the race. We went up to King's Graveyard and walked the trail, and it was absolutely insane. And luckily, while we were down there walking that trail, there was, I think, a few other racers, Campbell's, Horschel, some of the other, you know, top guys happened to come down and drive these trails, or drive this trail while we were there scouting it. And it was insane. Like, to see some of guys like that struggling was like, okay, this is gonna be an extremely tough trail. You know, guys like that don't struggle on very much. So I knew we were in for it. Luckily, we got down pretty smooth. A lot of the main lines that we had walked and that were the line a couple days before that were no longer lines. But we made do, we got through it.
Well, we had a hell of a day. We had a really clean first, maybe lap and a half, 2 laps. We were doing really well. Just want to thank all the guys back in the shop for getting the car ready. Dave, Andy, Jason, Don, Tad, with all our families for letting us come out here and do this. Yeah, and all our sponsors. So Mickey Thompson, tires were great today, so much grip. So this race is all about tires, man. You got to have a good tire to get you to the end of the race. You can't be out there swapping tires every 10 minutes. So we love the Mickey Thompson tires. They got us through the race today. Tons of grip. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Ultra 4 for putting this event on. It's amazing they pulled it off in these times. Yeah, we're happy to be back for sure. That was an ass kicker of a course, man.
It was pretty exciting, you know. It's been a couple years since we've made it all the way to the finish, especially in 4400 class. Like it's no joke. That lap 3 is, you have to give it every bit of energy you have left in order to, you know, drive the car all the way to the finish.
She's out! Oh my God!
My co-driver Gunnar did a great job out there helping me, you know, scout, helping us get through the field of broken cars. But we made it all the way, and yeah, on fumes, but we made it.
Jordan, congrats, man! Let me next! Good job, buddy! Me next! Why?
You know, I can't say enough about how well the team worked and coordinated in each of the pits, and all of that contributes to Jordan getting to the finish line.
Come on, man, I got you.
Couldn't tell you why we struggled so hard at the end, but we did. But Gunnar, he got us through it, so we made it. Kyle, Sam, Cole, those guys have been putting in just as many hours as I have getting this car ready. The entire team, all of our sponsors, Genright, Mickey Thompson, KMC Wheels, ARP, Torco Fuel, Fox, Scosh, RockstarGarage. There's so many. How many who? How many tires? 0 tires. No tires. But yeah, then we ran out of gas running through the finish. That was a little scary. It was an amazing feeling, and it's a feeling I haven't had in a couple of years. So it's good to have back.
Nice job, man. I want to say unofficially 22nd. Nice job.
Thank you.
I think I had the right mindset this year to get us to the finish. We did exactly what we needed to do, and it felt so good to get that finish again after 2 years of not finishing at Hammers. This was my 4th attempt at the 4400 class and 2nd finish in 4400. So, you know, I'm glad I could bring it home for the team, the sponsors, myself. I think it, you know, brought a lot of spirits up that were down after the last couple of years. So I'm excited to see where we can keep the ball rolling from here.